Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming, and welcome back to Monster Hunter Rise. Because yes, Rise is releasing on your mainline consoles, Xbox and PlayStation, that is, the current gen and also the previous versions. What this means is many people are finally going to get a chance to try this incredible game. You know, those people who just don't have a Switch or a suitable, often expensive PC to run it. But instead, now their console of choice will finally have Rise to play at last. And there are many people like this who played World on their consoles and could not play Rise on their consoles in the next gen, which was, admittedly, a huge disappointment for the community in general. Rise is an incredible game which only got better with its free updates, and especially in Sunbreak, so it's nice to see more people having a chance to play this fantastic game. And with the benefits of things like Game Pass, that means more people are going to be able to play it at incredibly cheap prices, which is always good for us. I want to say a quick thank you though to Capcom for letting us try this PlayStation 5 version a little bit early, so that we could give our thoughts on how it works and runs, and in general, what we think about the console version of Rise. Now, I'm going to go over the important details of this console version, what's different, what's important to know here, but I reckon you probably want to know the most important thing, the TLDR. Is this a good version of Rise? Yes, but there are some caveats. Some good, some bad. Ultimately, if you liked Rise before, whether you're playing on Switch or PC, you're going to like it on console. But if you played it on Switch, you're going to much prefer it on this console version, I assure you. This is where it's running smoothly with 60 FPS, which arguably makes it much better than the Switch just because of that. But there's also other details, like the much higher quality textures you're going to experience in this version compared to the Switch, the much faster load times, and the other extra features. Rise is fine at 30 FPS when you're used to it, but the moment that you try it in 60 FPS or higher like on PC version, it's hard to go back. The game runs how it should, you know, not limited by the hardware caps of a Switch. The monsters and armor textures specifically look so much cleaner in this version, and that's kind of the most important thing when it comes to the visuals of a game like this. The monster you're focused on, that needs to look and feel good, and also your hunter, the character you're playing, that needs to feel and look good. Compared to the Switch, this is a major upgrade, because everything's a bit smoother, everything flows better, and that's how it should be. It's always a shame that limited capacity of the Switch, so I could always understand people wanting to avoid Rise until it comes to their version, to PC, to the console, because they just don't want to buy a Switch because it is very limited in its power. If you didn't have a PC, then you were stuck waiting for your console version, but at least it's finally here now. Another great detail is the fact that you're able to play on, say, an Xbox or PlayStation controller, which honestly makes a big difference for me. I much prefer, say, a PlayStation's layout than a Switch layout. It's the little things like which button progresses in a menu, or even the way the buttons are laid out. It just feels better to me on your standard controller with, either an Xbox or PlayStation. And in fact, this entire time on PC, I've been running a PlayStation 5 controller instead of my Switch Pro because it's so much more logical. It feels so much better to me. Okay, general overview over. What can I tell you about this specific version? Well, first off, big deal is the fact that Rise, being on Xbox, means it's also going to be available on Game Pass, which is, if you're unaware somehow, pretty much the most value for money in the games industry right now, and has been for years. Basically, it means if you have the Game Pass subscription already, you don't need to go and buy Rise. You just have it, which is really awesome. Basically, Game Pass is this monthly subscription, and through that, you get access to like a silly amount of current games on the Game Pass, something like 300 plus games, I believe. And eventually, after a game leaves the current Game Pass roster, you're able to buy the game that you had installed through it for a really hefty discount, should you want to keep access to that game in the sort of very long term. So that's awesome. What about cross-save? We have cross-save here, but it works in certain caveats. For example, between PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, these are bundled together, so you don't need to buy the game again if you want to swap version or play on a different older console, and you can transfer your save data between the two, straightforward, no problem. Meanwhile, for your Xbox One, Series X and S versions, they all share data between one another. Again, no problem to swap saves between those versions, but because those are Microsoft versions, that also means the Windows version can transfer its saves between Xbox versions easily as well. Essentially, in this image that we're looking at that Monster Hunter posted on Twitter, that's the information you need, but if it's not listed here, or as I've just explained, there is no cross-save, it won't work. Meaning, you can't bring your Switch save to PC or Xbox or PlayStation, which is really sad, but kind of expected. Now, what are we getting here when we play Rise on console to start with? It's basically OG Rise, but with every update pre-Sunbreak, meaning the 3 free major title updates, that's going to be there in-game immediately, and every event quest and all the little rewards they gave you over the span of Rise, that's all there to download and immediately get access to, which is awesome because it means you can go target specific monsters that might otherwise be really annoying to deal with. You can in fact bypass a lot of the rampage walls because of that, hunting down specific Apex monsters or specific monsters in event quests, which is honestly a really nice quality of life change compared to OG Rise players. But yeah, it also means with the title updates, you can go straight to Allmother or Valstrax and so on immediately, meaning the endgame is proper chunky from the start in this 1.0 version. So someone playing Rise for the first time on this version on the console, they're just going to have a nicer, a smoother, less broken endgame experience than we did at 1.0 on the Switch. There's going to be way more content for these console players to try and work on immediately after finishing the original story. It won't fall flat and feel a bit unfinished like it did for us back in 1.0 on the Switch. So compared to that, the story is going to reach its true completion pretty much immediately, leaving the player to take it at their own pace, but not have to wait like months like we did. That's exactly what Rise should have been from the start, and in this version, that's what it will be. Now, Sunbreak will not actually launch with the console version immediately, but it will follow up soon after, dropping in full with all of its multiple major updates at the time, later in this year of 2023, announced for spring 2023. All right, what's my general thoughts on the performance of this version? It's good. I haven't experienced any issues at all. I haven't had any frame drops, no crashes, not a single bug or issue in my playtime so far. We can play in a performance or quality mode if for some reason there is any issues, but again, I didn't have any, but it does support 4K and it plays in 60 FPS. They also boast some cool PlayStation specific 3D audio in the trailer. For me, it sounded crisp and clear as always, like the PC version, so I can't say I noticed that, but yeah, it ran very well, no issues for me at all. There is one criticism I have for this version for the console release though, and in my opinion, it's a major issue. It's crossplay. It still does not exist, and that becomes more of an issue now as we have all these different versions of Rise. We got it on Switch, we got it on PlayStation, we got it on the different Xbox versions, and now the different PlayStation versions as well. That's a lot of different people, a lot of different communities who cannot play with one another. And it's just such a shame that such a major game, Monster Hunter, doesn't have crossplay to this day. This is a major issue for the series in general, and I hope it's one that's finally addressed in Monster Hunter 6. They know that we want it. They did this big poll and talk about it back before Sunbreak release. They've acknowledged it. They know it's a big issue for the community now, and they just couldn't do it for Sunbreak in time. That's what they told us. So hopefully, with all these different versions on our current Rise, the future of Monster Hunter should involve crossplay. It deserves it. It's just a shame we don't have it here. But yeah, there you have it. That's my overview of the console release of Rise. This is a solid port. It's stable, it's functional, it works great. The cross-save stuff is really nice where relevant, and the Game Pass is obviously a major detail for something like this, giving a lot of people who would otherwise maybe never try Monster Hunter in general, it gives them a way to try it. And hopefully that introduces more fans of this great series. As I've just mentioned though, crossplay is still not a thing, and it's something that it absolutely should have in the future, and hopefully this just furthers the devs' awareness that we want it, and they really should work on it. But yep, that's everything I've got to say. Thank you for watching and listening. I hope this was useful and interesting to you. For now, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.